And welcome to our very first episode of Leada-Talk. Our very first episode of Leada-Talk. So glad to have our special guest, Hallelujah.
Oh,
Yeah, so glad to have you. Yeah, and I'm just waiting for one or two to connect now. We've
mm,
just literally gone live. Yeah, so we are live on YouTube and also we're live on YouTube, on Facebook, and even Twitter. Well, it's now X anyways.
wow.
Yeah, so glad to have you. I'm sure we're gonna have um a wonderful time, and I'm ready to soak it all in. So I
Yes, well,
can
I'm also excited to be here anyway.
yeah,
Mm,
I came to get some nuggets myself, so I'm excited. I'm definitely excited,
good.
and yeah. So okay, let me just check. Right. So yeah. So we are definitely live on all the others. Okay, that's great. That's great. Okay, so I'm just gonna go straight into it now. So it's our very first episode of Leader Talk, like I said, and on Leader Talk, we're going to be focusing on leadership. We're going to be focusing on leadership, all things leadership, whether whether on an individual level, whether on a team level, whatever it is, we are going in, whether it's vision, mission development, culture within an organization. We're going to be covering all these things, as we go along. So yeah, really, really glad to have you. So, for those of you who are not familiar with our guest, he is Dr. Francis up here, and he's someone I've known for quite some time now. Yeah, known him for some years, and yeah, he's right here. He's right here in the UK, and uh, Dr. Francis was a teacher in Ghana, came over to the UK to further his studies. He said, he, I know. I know he's not gonna like me saying this, but he came to further his studies here, and yes, we've got our own Oxford and Cambridge graduate here. Yeah, and he's also right now a researcher as well. He so glad. He's a man of great insights. Great insight on a very wide range of things, and that also includes leadership. And so, well, of course, he's been involved in leadership for quite some time, for a number of years. So he's definitely no stranger to leadership and leadership
Good.
development and team development. So definitely a great person to have as our very first guest on our episode of Leader Talk. Yeah, so really glad to have you, and we're going to be discussing value ascribing. The topic is value ascribing, not just value placement. Value ascribing, not just value placement. And I'm sure most of the people connecting, and those who'll be watching are probably going to be a bit intrigued by just the title alone. I'm sure a few of them are going to be intrigued if they're not already. So yeah, welcome to Leader Talk, Dr. Francis. So glad to have you here. So I will leave it to you. Just tell us well, I know I've just spoken very briefly about yourself, but yeah, the floor is open to you now. So please flow, sir. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Nat. I'm so also excited to be here this evening, especially that is our very first one, Leader Talk.
Yes.
I thought. there will be a way to have others come in and then I join in here and there. But I'm happy that I'm beginning the whole program, the
Yes,
whole sort of episodes of Leader Talk. Very, very important program for our generation. This generation that we're in, it's very important that we build ideas around leadership because you could see that everything is centered around leadership.
sure.
This evening, I'm just here to share a few nuggets, as Nat will always put it, that I've learned along the way. We've gone through a lot. He said some few things about our journey. Yes, I was a teacher right from the junior secondary level, senior secondary level to the university, and then back to UK to further my studies, masters, PhD, and so on. And here we are, also leading in church at the moment. And so, few things we have sort of learned along the way that we want to discuss today.
Yeah.
Um, so, I think the first segment will be more of introducing the topic and
Okay.
ourselves, and then we open the floor for Nat to lead us in a discussion about the topic. And so we maybe at that point we can also delve deeper into some of the points that we raise.
Yeah.
Um, so briefly, today we want to look at the fact that more emphasis have been placed on value placement in leadership corridors. Most leadership styles are focused on the fact that yes, we need value, and so that value is more of trying to strategically place such values on various aspects of our organization and our team. So we're able to sort of um, be able to sort of produce the excellence that we are looking for, the to have the maximum out of our teams and our organizations, which is not out of place. Yes, that is what everyone is looking out for, but this evening, I sort of reflect on leadership as I have gone through it and learned from others and read around. And I feel there is that aspect of also drawing our attention to the fact that it is good we have leadership, what the value placement, but it would still be a lot better now and the long term if we begin to look at value that sort of built out of our team, built out of our followers, built out of our organization, and then be
Sorry,
able to, yes, sir.
sorry to jump in this.
Yeah,
Can with some of the people who are probably listening right now may not even be familiar with the concept of value placement.
right.
So, if you don't mind, just to briefly touch on that, please, that'd be
Excellent.
great.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. So I was going to go few aspects of it as well anyway. Yeah. So that is a key thing that I want to sort of advocate, sort of point out this evening, that we need to also turn our attention to much more to ascribing, looking at value ascribing than more just value placement. And so for value placement, the difference between the two, basically, value placement emphasizes on strategic decision making. Value placement focuses on strategically placing values in the organization. You see, so it's about defining and setting the values, ethics, and principles that organizations should adhere to. Okay, so here it's mainly looking at what values that we want to be known for, what values do we want to propagate and sort of use in our daily operations that will yield us the sort of outcome that we have envisaged. And so we look at those values, ethics, and try to sort of drive the organization and our teams by such values, which is good and important. Secondly, value placement leadership always practice value placement that take on strategic leadership role. They define organization's value and guides activities. You see, or decisions in accordance with these predetermined values. So we are so much concerned about what values we have, how we are propagating this through our activities, and how we are using it to also sort of drive our growth and development. And that preoccupies every decision and strategies and practices that we put in place. And these are good because those are the things that will help us to be able to be unique and also be able to get much more profit and benefit from the organizations that we run and the activities that we do around them. It is more value centric culture that we have when we are looking at value placement. You see, and it ensures that the entire organization, including its processes and systems, reflect these established values. As I said earlier, we need to sort of be able to drive and to show these values and to implement these values in all the things we do. But flip the coin on the other side. Value ascribing or ascribing value rather looks at the fact that we are more concerned and focused on individuals. We are more of understanding and aligning the values of people. So it's more empathetic, it is more people centric, it is more transparent and honesty. It continues, it drives within continuous improvement, and that is what I want to focus on this evening. Yes, in both of the leadership styles, in both of these ways of driving our organizations and our teams, yes, we are looking out for the maximum output that we can have. But looking at placement, value placement, it is more of the outward delivery of the things we do daily in our teams and in our organizations. It guides our thoughts, it guides our decisions, it guides how we distribute resources within our organizations. But with placement, it is more of the fact that with ascribing, it is more of the fact that the team that we have, the resources that we have, the human entities that drive our organizations have inner initiative, inner drive that we need to be able to harness and begin to improve upon this, to grow this together as a team, as organizations. And once we have that, when we're able to sort of tap into this inner core drive of our teams, we're able to sort of in the long term drive productivity, drive change, drive all the things that yes, the organization is all about to produce and to provide for society. And so I think the entire idea is that even as we look at placing value and we being able to achieve and attain to such values, we still have to have this empathetic, human-centered sort of leadership that we're able to harness that value that is within and be able to sort of improve upon these values, and so that our decisions, our choices, our activities are rather driven by such values that are inward and be able to now bring out the outputs that we so desire. We believe that with such approach, we are able to sort of help our followers, help our team, help the organization to sort of begin to have that focus of long term leadership and team building that is able to sort of increase our output in the long term as we go along. And so I would highlight that in value placement, we are not just looking at the values that we have designed or sort of come up with as organizations and teams, but we are much particular about individuals that are within our teams and the team as a whole. And what are some of the inner drive and inner capabilities, inner desires, the strengths and weaknesses that are embedded within our team, and how do we sort of harness these together and be able to let those drive our choices, our decisions, and our improvements in organizations and teams. With that, we're able to sort of, once we're able to put this together and begin to enhance such, they are able to help us to sort of achieve much more, even now and for the long term. Otherwise, value placement is good, and mostly I would say would just help us to sort of establish ourselves as organizations and teams. But if we're looking for organizations and teams that are able to sort of develop further for long term, then we need to sort of place attention much more on value ascribing. In summary, we could say that both value ascribing and value placement involve the integration of values into leadership practices. Yes, both of them looking at value that we can sort of build within our teams and our organization that will help the organizations to attain that which it was set out for. But value ascribing is more people centric, it's empathetic, it's dynamic, with a focus on aligning personal values with organizational values and encouraging inclusivity. So it's more of sort of understanding the level of value within your team, and then being able to harness this for it to drive the focus of the organization. I will end with this. Our own John Maxwell made this assertion, made this point so clearly with what he termed initiative. So it was a description of what initiative is actually about. And it says they have initiative about your team. He was talking about. It says they have an internal drive to act. Okay, so remember, it is the action, is the act, is the activities, the productivity that brings the outcome that we are looking for. And so, value placement mainly will be looking at the acts. We'll be looking at what we do, how we do it, where we place things, and how we sort of direct affairs to make sure things happen. But if you go further, it tells you that it's an inner drive that guides the actions, that guides the activities. So my point tonight is the fact that why not look at the inner drive? Why not focus on the inner drive and be able to sort of develop this inner drive, identify it, whether it be individuals, whether it be the whole team, build it together, and then let that inform how these activities or acts are performed so that we can yield the output that we're looking for. So I think that is where the key emphasis is on tonight. And I believe that at least once we begin to develop this individually, develop this as a team, develop this within our organizations, long term wise, we sort of are going to have maximum, going to have sort of optimal productivity that we need. And so I think I will end it here and hand over to Nat, and then we can go find some questions as how to. So over
Okay.
to you,
Wow.
sir.
Wow, that's awesome. That is an amazing concept for sure. And as you were speaking, I was just thinking that, of course, there's some employers or some
Mm.
leaders, some managers within organizations who may be thinking, that sounds like hard work.
Right. Indeed.
There's someone we thinking, you know what, let's just stick with this value placement one. What's
Mm.
this?
Mm.
What do you think? What do you think may be um some of the hindrances, or should I say, what what do you think are some of the points that may cause certain leaders, within organizations, particularly those who have a say when it comes to the values,
Mm.
within an
Mm.
organization?
Mm.
Why do you think some of them may be a bit reluctant to perhaps go down this path, of value ascribing, as basically adding value ascribing to value placement, which they may I assume as an organization already have established within the organization.
That's right. All right. Thank you. So I think the your last part signals why some leaders might not just be sort of be forthright with looking at value ascribing. The fact is that they might believe that they might think that the organization is well established already with value placement.
Yeah,
So what do we have to go ahead, and maybe they are looking at their turnovers, they are looking at their profits, benefits,
sure,
and things
sure.
are okay. So
Yeah.
what is the point of trying to sort of change the wheel and sort of cause a step? Yes, it is. We admit that yes, it will be challenging. It is a challenging task already, but
Mhm.
it is something that once it is well established, once it is well developed, and once it becomes the cultural thing in organizations and teams, you're able to build on top of it. New members will come in, but they come that the system is well established to sort of begin to understand what are the issues, what are the challenges, what are the things that drive people's inner initiative, and things that will help to sort of build upon such. And so, yes, you're dealing with how do I even start? How do we sort of even understand what the value structures of people are? And remember here, organization values will be values that are established. Okay, so they are sort of unique. They are everyone sort of will be able to work with. But here you are talking about individuals and teams with individual perspective, individuals' backgrounds, and values that we come along with, and so on. So now, how do you sort of begin to gel all this together so that you can have a team that works together to fulfill organizational goals? And so I think that is where it might just be challenging to sort of do that. But
Mm.
if it becomes the embedded way of thinking through the leadership, and be able to sort of put strategies in place to and programs and trainings in place so that we're able to sort of harness such values of individuals, I
Mm.
think in the long term we stand a very, very good chance of having productivity that probably might even be so doubled of the thing of previous ways that we have focused on value placement. So I think yes, challenging, yes it is, but it's an organization, it's a team. So if we have the the big picture and the good intentions for the team, then we got to work at this and to make sure that we are bringing on board all these dynamic ways of people's way of doing things, people's way of understanding things, and also what challenges and backgrounds they carry already, and then building sort of a value ascribing platform for them to ride on to produce maximally.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'm also thinking, if so how how do we pitch this concept of value ascribing to people, so it's just following on from what you've just explained. How do you pitch this to, imagine you've got your typical, you know managing director or
Mm,
CEO, or head of an organization, and they have been used to the status quo of value placement.
mm,
Where they look at it from the acts, from the organizational perspective, and the bottom line seems to be fine. I say, and things just seem to be rolling. How do you think we can pitch this to them from the employee's perspective or from the team member's perspective? How do you think we could, you know, we could pitch it to them in such a way that if they were to look at it from the employee's perspective, they could perhaps actually, perhaps discover certain unique
mm.
benefits, with going down the value ascribing routes,
But,
on top
yeah,
of what they may already be doing from an employee's perspective. Because, of course, when it comes to value placement, it's usually from the organization's perspective.
organizational perspective, yes. Mm,
Yeah. So with value ascribing, of course, we're trying to look at the benefits, from the employee's perspective as well, in order to be able to bring certain key decision makers within organizations on board, this particular concept, which is absolutely, brilliant,
mm,
in my
mm.
opinion. Yes, definitely.
Good. Yeah. So I think, as you've said already, value placement is more of the organization driving the team and change and all the decisions uh, that are normally made. But with value ascribing, it is more of being able to have a team, understand how the team works well, what values are within the team, and how to sort of harness this to drive the change that is in organizations and decisions that we take. So, to sort of look at it from the employee's perspective, it tells you that the organization is not just in there as a place of work, but it becomes a place of change. So yourself, within yourself, there'll be the drive for change for yourself, the drive for improvement that you are yearning for, the drive to be able to count in terms of how your contributions towards the organizational growth and organizational sort of production and outcome. So you sort of are excited that you form a very important part of a broader agenda or a broader sort of outlook and desire of an organization and a team. And so that in itself builds that strong. That's why I refer to Maxwell's initiative description about followers, employees, team members, and so on, that they have this internal drive. So once we ignite this internal drive, it sort of builds this sort of value structure within the team that is able to drive higher activities and quality activities for productivity to sort of improve a lot. And you want your team to feel that sort of desire, to feel that sort of importance and value as part of your organization. And so once you're able to build that within, the team, you stand a very good chance of getting the maximum from your team, not just by not just implementing value placement strategies.
Yeah, there's something you just said right now,
Mm,
which I believe was really really powerful. You said not just a place of work, but a
mm,
place of change.
that's
Wow,
right.
that's yeah. I mean,
That's right.
that just that for me changes the whole game.
That's it.
It changes the whole picture. The reason
Mm,
being, for me, when I look at teams, when I look at employees, they typically people spend most of their um most of their most energetic time and
mm,
quality time at their place of work
that's
in
right.
any typical week,
Mm,
in any given week. So if you have people who are given that amount of their time, that amount of their energy, that amount
mm,
of their of their creativity,
mm,
they're basically committing a lot of these aspects, because honestly, when most people get back home from work, half the time they're
they are
exhausted.
gone. They are gone. I can
Half the
attest to
time
that.
they're exhausted. you know half the time they're exhausted. They just want to sit down,
Mm,
relax for a bit,
yeah.
unwind. And then they've obviously got the other responsibilities at home.
Mm,
If you're a parent and you've got kids, you've got all of that to deal with as
exactly.
well. If you've got other responsibilities, you've got all of that. And usually by the time you've started getting into that, you're not really giving like the best of your energy. You're
Mm,
not really, so for you to say that value ascribing really looks at the employee, being at a place, where it's not just going to work, but also them knowing that they're able to create change. They're
mm,
also able to
exactly.
utilize, the things, um, the unique talents, the unique
Mm,
ideas, that are wrapped up on the inside of them. I always say this: we you never know the good ideas that may be inside an employee, right? That can actually change the organization like that.
that's right.
Until I believe you start going down this route of value ascribing,
Right.
because
Mm,
yeah, because every employee's is gifted, they're loaded, they have their own unique way of approaching things, looking at things. And I think when we only focus on value placement, you know we tend to shut down that side of the employee, their
mhm.
drive and so on, which is really needed to get them. Even if they were performing at, I don't know, like 90%, whatever, you can get them to move into 110%.
And
you
even
know
more.
uh,
Mm,
yes, yes, yes,
brother.
even more.
Mm,
So yeah, that was something that really resonated
that's it.
with me when you said that. A place of change. Wow, that's
Mm,
wow.
mm. And indeed it is. Indeed it is. As you've been just elaborated on, you spend most of your time in your
Yeah,
organization, in your
yeah,
team. And so, I mean, if you find fulfillment within that, if you find that I bring some value and change, some input that is so important in helping organization and teams to achieve even much more, then you're always excited to be at work. You are excited to be to sort of help in providing ideas. you are so innovative, your creative powers begins
Sure.
to sort of so heightened and so on. It drives you. Ascribing is more to sort of ignite that value that is inside of you, that value that you are embedded with, to be able to sort of benefit the organization, the team, and the entire body that you belong to.
Wow. Yeah, that's really good. And even right now, as we are speaking, I'm wondering for our viewers, those who are connecting right now, and even those who will connect later on, after we're done with the live stream, I'm
Mm,
wondering how many of you listening, it in fact, let's start getting some comments down in the
that's
chat
right.
if you can. That would be wonderful. Let's what are your thoughts of value ascribing? Is it something that you've had, whether in your current place of employment or in a previous place, and also, what do you think, how do you think that value ascribing is, will help when it comes to your level of output to your organization, yeah. So yeah, I'm really, really intrigued. I'd really like to get some comments down the comment section. So yeah, if you're able to
Mm,
do that, that would be amazing. So yeah, Dr. Francis. So I think when it comes to the value ascribing, it's something that um is something that I think, some organizations, will really take on board.
mm,
I think there are some who will, particularly, I'm thinking organizations that are people centered.
that's right.
I'm thinking the people-centered kind of organization, this will not come as a struggle. But when you have those who typically, it's all about what's on the paper,
Right.
spreadsheets,
Mm,
spreadsheets and that kind of stuff, and they see everything through that lens. Why do you think the society that we're living in, generally speaking, might not really embrace value ascribing.
mm,
What do you think about, what do you think it is about our society that we're living in today that may cause people to say, nah, you know what, let's just stick with this one.
that's right.
Value placement, after all, it
Mhm.
hasn't cost us any harm, so you know yeah, why should we change? So yeah, what do you think, maybe some of the contributing factors from the society as a whole, you
Right.
know uh yeah,
Good.
please.
All right. Thank you so much. So I think it sounds a very good concept. It sounds a very excellent concept to sort of begin to utilize and to get much more from your team and from your organization. Um, but it's a sort of a long term way of being so embedded within the organizational culture. So people nowadays just quickly we want to see the results, as you said, want to see the figures rising, want to see the indicators showing. But with value ascribing, remember you are delving deeper into people's ways of doing things, the values that are within them. So sometimes it even takes a bit longer to be able to understand much more what these value structures and systems are before you now begin to apply them to your decisions, your activities, your programs, and so your systems and all those ones are driven by such values when you get there. And so I think that is where the challenge is. It might just not begin to show from the beginning, as you also said. probably we do have, it takes a lot of much more resources again. Sometimes we need to set certain resources aside to be able to sort of dig deep in this. Maybe organizations might find it a bit might think that not yet, though we think it can help, we might say we can defer it in a way. And so I think that is where the challenge will be. But we need to look at it from this point, that we need the maximum from our organization, our team, and our
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
And so if we are looking at it from that point, then we got to sort of put in the effort, put in the resources, be able to get this. And once
Mm.
that begins to be embedded within our systems, it takes us far. It takes us far, and is able to help us to sort of obtain and be able to achieve that which we have set as our target to achieve, even in the best possible ways. So that even what happens is that we are in society in where challenges do just pop here and there. Risks are here and there. But if you build a strong team that is fixed on values of people, you stand a very good chance of being able to scale through all these problems and challenges that normally occur with your organizations and teams.
Mm. Oh, thank you so much. There's something you just said just now, which was what I think that based on what you've just said, organizations that have values on people, right?
Mm,
Values. I think that those with value placement that that is people centered. I I think that they will find it a much easier, a much
mm.
easier
About
path to
pitch.
take,
Mm,
yes, approach, so to
yeah.
speak, as opposed to those who are, those who are just all about, hitting targets and of course, these things are very, very important, but
That's right. Yeah.
I think I think the value placement aspect of the organization, from what you just explaining right now, can also have an impact as to, the willingness, and the potential of an organization embracing value ascribing, where
Mhm,
they're now looking at things from an individual perspective, what they think the drivers of the employees, or,
mhm.
the team, much more broadly speaking. Yeah, I think, yeah, so yeah, I think there are some that will probably find an easier transition than others, based on their current value placement as well. What do you think? Yeah, what are your thoughts on that, please?
Yes, broadly, I think that is what would sort of build stronger organization of a culture that is able to produce even the more that we are looking out for. With placement, yes, it won't go away. This value
Yeah,
ascribing is not putting value placement away from the equation. No,
sure.
it is only refocusing and re-emphasizing the area that we need to sort of work on and begin to develop even further, that we're able to now incorporate into our programs and activities that is able to drive more change, more productivity in a way that it is more quality. It is more also long term. It is more of the fact that you yield even more. So
Mm,
placement will yield you, but
yeah.
then with value ascribing adding to it and or being
Mm,
emphasized, being prominent, you are able to sort of increase and develop even further. So I think that is
yeah.
where the whole thing is.
Okay. And something as well that you've been saying right from the start has been
Mm,
long term.
long term. Yeah.
long term, which, yeah, which for me is quite key because it appears that the organizations that are very, short term oriented, just where they only look at things purely from a quarterly perspective,
That's
just
right.
every 3 months, I think those kinds of organizations are probably gonna find it less attractive
Mm, that's right.
to
Yeah.
embrace to embrace value ascribing, as compared to those who are willing to say, you know what, we are here to build this thing for quite some time to come,
Mm,
and we are prepared to go down the long term route. And
yeah.
and the other thing as well is that even in management, I can see how value ascribing will really help, again, with what we are just saying about you
That's
know
right.
um the long term establishment of the organization, because one of the last things you need in any organization, particularly in a profit making organization, is an organization that has a very high staff turnover,
That's right.
where,
Yeah. Very
uh, you
challenging.
know,
Mm,
very, very, very challenging, because it obviously takes time to retrain, sorry, to train people afresh, to get used to even the value placement of the organization and all these other,
right.
parts. So I think in the long term, the long term approach, one of the very major advantages of this is, I think, having a very low staff turnover. In other words, you're having staff that are staying within the organization for a much longer period.
That's right.
Why? Because of the satisfaction level that they are getting
That's
from their
good.
place of
Mm,
work. So
exactly.
the chance, so the chances of them, leaving, and you having to keep replacing over and over, yeah, I think is going to be a lot slimmer. And I think it's
Mhm.
definitely one of the points that we can, that we can use when it comes to trying to sell value ascribing. Yeah,
That's
I
right.
think, the long term approach, and I think also within society in general, you hinted at this earlier. I think society in general right now really wants everything now. We
That's
live in
it.
a microwave. We live in
Mm,
a microwave generation now. Everything has to be now.
done
No
quickly.
wonder, yeah. So no wonder even when it comes to social media, it's now about short form content. Shorts, YouTube shorts, Facebook reels, Instagram reels. Like all these, everything is short, short, short
So,
because of the attention span. So I think that also has some kind of effects on on a possible reluctance to go with value ascribing. Is there anything else that you think could be um, that could be a hidden, perhaps, advantage of taking on value ascribing within the organization at all,
right. So I
please?
think you just hinted on that. One of the key things that happens when value ascribing is more prominent. Employee or team member retention. You have very experienced team that keeps going,
Sure.
and developing and producing. As you continue to have such and build on such a team, expanding on such a team, you are in a better position to face challenges and storms that hit organizations, and also be able to produce even with more sort of less input, to say, because they are
Mhm.
more efficient, they are more
Yeah,
effective, because they
sure.
they have learned the ropes over the time. They know the system so well. They're able to sort of place unique advantage and innovations that are able to bring out much more value out of the organization and the team. So I think if value ascribing is sort of imbibed within organizations and team culture, it goes a long way. It goes a long way to benefit the team and the organization in various ways. One of these key ones is the fact that once you have these experienced people there, they are able to sort of carry the organization even if there are storms. They're able to
Sure.
sort of carry the organization through changes that probably are not planned for,
Mm,
or these ones. They're able to sort of leverage their experience, their innovativeness, and commitment as well. Be able to produce even further. Yeah.
mm. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Even with when it comes to Ivine training, there are a few things that we do to try and to try and enhance this aspect. The
Mhm.
value ascribing, and one of the things that if all the team members know is you have to come you have to share boldly. You have to share boldly, things that you know things that you may be thinking about, thoughts, ideas, suggestions, all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff.
Mhm.
And again, going back to the value placement having an effect, um the kind of value placement that you have, having an effect on the value ascribing. So, like, for example, we have a culture within iVine, for the team to be able to, one, express themselves,
Mhm.
and one things that we definitely encourage is for them to come up with creative ideas as well.
Mhm.
Creative ideas, and that's actually one of the things. It's something that we do on a weekly basis.
Right.
It's not even a monthly basis. It's just on a weekly basis.
That's right.
It's
Very
something that,
important.
yes,
Mhm.
it's something that we do. And also there are a few things that we've actually implemented that didn't come from me. That came from the team members, including the name. Some people may not know this, but even the name Impact Nuggets, right? That actually came. Yeah, that wasn't me. It was someone else. Yeah, it was one of the team. So so the thing is that when you do that, one of the things that I've noticed is, as well, is that it builds a sense of belonging. It builds a certain sense of belonging as well for the team. Knowing that their values are also, are also cherished, and placed you know uh, at such a high level of importance.
Mhm.
So I think it's something. Yeah, I think I honestly wish that every organization will go down this route of adding value, ascribing to whatever organizational values and things that they already have in place. I
Mhm.
think it's something that would really, really help. And from the employee's perspective, I think, like we've just been discussing, it doesn't even matter how busy they may be, at the workplace, but I think because the satisfaction element may actually help, you know,
Right.
drive them on.
Mhm.
Yes,
Exactly.
even when,
Exactly.
yeah, even when things are seeming to be a bit difficult, or a bit challenging, with some pressures. So, Dr. Francis, we are approaching the end of the time right now. What are your final
Awesome.
thoughts, please? What are your final thoughts, that you would like um, the audience to take home? If there's one thing that you absolutely want them to take home, from this evening's discussion, what would it be, sir?
All right. So, well, I would just say thank you so much for having me. I think I would advocate and drive that
Yeah.
we have perspective, diversity in terms of perspectives, ideas, innovations, values within our members. We just have to shine light on this. We just have to act activate these values and begin
Mm,
to employ these values
mm.
to drive our change in organizations and in teams. So I think it's something we just have to go out there for intentionally, purposefully. We got to begin to harness such values and activate them for the maximum impact that we want to have, the change that we so desire, the change that we have set for our organizations and teams. They can come, they can be so effective once we're able to sort of go the ascribing value channel sort of process and be able to sort of activate such values, put them together, and cause that change to take place in organizations. So thank you so much for having me.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Francis. It's been a privilege. Yeah, I've enjoyed it, and I can see in the chat as well. That yes, I'm not the only one.
Mm.
I'm not the only one.
Thank you.
It's been a um wonderful time discussing this concept of value ascribing. And I think it's something that's it's definitely something that please if you're watching right now, please share it. Please share it, especially to share it with people in leadership that you may know, or people who are even aspiring to be leaders, team leaders, managers. Please share this with them, because this is going to help. It's definitely going to help. That is also your way of ensuring that more organizations embrace value ascribing, on top of the more the more popular value placement that we have within our organizations. And so yeah, that's been an awesome first episode of Leada-Talk. And of course, I know for a fact we're going to have you on here, sir, a lot more,
Thank you.
many more times in the future. So yeah, thank you so much for making the time to be with us, and for sharing and impacting us with this awesome truths and nuggets when it comes to leadership development. Thank you so much. So that's the time. That's all the time that we have now. So our next Leada-Talk is going to be well, I don't know yet, but but it's not going to be long. It's not going to be long
Right.
until it's not going to be long. We're going to be having our next one very, very soon. So thank you so much once again, Dr. Francis.
Thank you too. Yeah.
And yes, we look forward to having you on here again. Thank you so much.
All right.
And
Thank you. And thank you to our audience as well.
yes, thank you so much. For the audience, if you haven't liked, if you haven't shared, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Please do so. And also, if you're on Facebook, please hit the follow button as well, so that you don't miss out on any content. You don't want to miss out on any more of these,
Of
right? You
course.
don't want to miss out. So, so please do so. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. And Impact Nuggets is tomorrow. Impact Nuggets is tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. GMT. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.